It brings great pride to me to be involved in this. I've probably been involved in it for 6 or 7 years, but there's people who've been involved for a lot longer than me. Even just the fact we got to a position where we were able to bring flows back to the river, and now that it's bringing wild salmon back to the river, it's something that the business should be proud of. But everyone involved should be very proud of what we've achieved here. A lot of work and a lot of time went into getting to a point where we could really deliver something that made a big difference. It's essentially a restoration project which is aimed at bringing flows, fish, and just improving general ecology of the river. I guess the drivers for the project, it was part of the River Basin Management Plan, which is a sort of regulatory driver for improving water bodies across the country. The main changes from an SSE perspective, we made retrofitted and we made changes to our intake. So essentially what we were doing, we were putting in facilities at our intakes to allow a continuous flow of water downstream that we can manage and monitor. Once we had the flows back in the river, it was then a case of how do we get fish back into the river. So the Tay Fishery Board, working out of their hatchery at Almond Bank, have gone through a quite intensive stocking programme. They've been stocking the river in various locations for a number of years now. And that's really to kickstart the population of salmon, so to give them an opportunity to come back to natural.
For many years there was no water in this burn or in the River Garry because of total abstraction, but since 2017 SSE have been releasing a flow. As you can see here, there's now a reasonable flow of water in this burn. But of course, because it had been dry for so long, there were no salmon here. And what we wanted to do was to stock salmon eggs into the river, generate a population, and then see if they can manage to come back and spawn naturally. So that's been the basic premise of it. We produce salmon eggs from local rivers near to here. We rear them up in the hatchery and they're taken out and they're stocked in here in what we call artificial redds. This is mimicking the natural process of salmon spawning. So these eggs will then hatch and then they'll emerge from the gravel probably in May or June, and then the fish will then live a natural life in the burn, in the river, and they'll go to sea and they'll come back.
In the first few years after re-watering, so since 2017, the dominant fish that were found, both juveniles and adults, were stocked fish. But now, the last 2-3 years, the dominant fish is now wild fish. So we're getting more returning adults, we're getting more natural spawning juveniles in the river. And that's ultimately what we were aiming to do. So the plan would now be to reduce the stocking of the river in some areas and let the wild fish do what they do and really return. Hydro has a long history of investing time and resource into resolving the challenges that we face and mitigating for the impacts that we have. At a time when we've got challenges coming through climate change and through biodiversity crisis and the impacts that has on everything, on environment, on economy and on society as well. To be able to work on projects like this and make a real difference, it does mean something.